you're leading me into my question, which is if I'm a family member and I think a day program, any day program, whether it's the ARCs or not, is going to be the best option for my family member when they get out of school. What are some of the things I can do to make them best prepared to make that transition?
So here are some of the things we recommend that people work on, and that can be in school or any other life stage of when you're preparing to transition into a day program. Please know you don't have to be independent in any of these areas, but those are areas that the more independent you are, the more flexible your support options might be. So we do look towards working towards maybe independence in eating and drinking and toileting and hygiene and mobility. Again, if the individual is not independent in any of those areas, that is okay. We can still provide supports. However, those supports might have to look a little different. You might need smaller group supports or one-on-one supports, and that changes kind of what your wait time would look like, or maybe what program you're targeting. Same for communication. As much as possible, we want the people in our program to have as much autonomy over their day as possible, meaning we want them to pick and choose where they're going, what they're doing, who they're doing it with. We give them a lot of ideas, some structure to work with, so it's not anything and everything. We give them choices, but we do want to work with them on expressing clear choices. And again, however that looks, that could be an eye gaze towards a picture, pointing at a picture, using a switch to press on, could be using an iPad, the ProLaQuota Go program, could be using a talker they've used at school. Doesn't matter, but we want to work with them on be able to make a choice, because that's just going to set them up for more success when they come to the program. And again, give them more flexibility and options of what they do. We really love to work with or recommend, especially when individuals are in school, that they start practicing a means to communicate with the community at large. So our staff are there, but as much as possible, we are there to obviously provide whatever supports the individuals need. But when it comes to working with the community, we also try to get out of the way a little bit so that we are not intercepting that communication with community members. So if somebody's at a restaurant, we want the individual to order, and we don't need to order for them. And we want them to order in whatever way they typically communicate. But we do like to kind of recommend that folks start to transition into communication devices that are a little bit easier to take out in the community. So for example, a Dynavox is large and bulky and it's expensive, and if you drop it, it's a problem. So working in those last years of schools, can we transition to an iPad where everyone has an iPad in the community? That's perfectly acceptable. It's easy, it's lightweight. If you drop it, it's not a big deal, but you can still use that as a communication device and a way to communicate with the community at large. And the community understands what that is, so they know how to communicate back using that same device. And that's what I mean by that use of communication devices that are portable and non-intrusive. And again, behavioral supports, we can provide behavioral supports at our sites, but the less support you need there, the more flexibility and the more day program options you might have available to you. And in terms of behavioral support, we get this question a lot. How much is too much? What does that look like? What we say is, because our programs are community-based, as long as people have a desire to spend some amount of time in the community, we can meet you there. If you do not at all, or the community is just not a happy place for you, then our programs may not be right for you. Because if you need an environment that's 100% structured and controlled all day long, well, we can't guarantee what's going to happen in the community or so we can't control those environments entirely.
I think that's sometimes the most confusing thing for families. They think of behavior as being something external that the person is doing to somebody else or to another thing, but sometimes refusal and lack of interest in anything can also be really problematic to be able to participate in the day program, because especially if you're in a group, if the group's going out and you don't want to go, then we're really at an impasse. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and that again doesn't mean we can't provide that support, but we might have to provide you support one-on-one. And I will say, I like to make it pretty clear, our wait list for one-on-one supports are significantly longer than they are for group supports. We only have a certain number of spots for one-on-one, and those people tend to just stay with us long term. So there's not a lot of turnover in those spots. So anything you can do to prepare the individuals to potentially be supported in a small group is going to give them more opportunity, less of a wait, more flexibility in what they can access in our day program. Doesn't mean we can't do it though. It just means the wait might be longer.